Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team down here in Houston, Texas, joined by my good friend Danny Deals, otherwise known as Dan O'Neill, out of New York, Florida, South Carolina, all over. I'm not even really sure where this man lives because every time I see him on Instagram, he's in a different city, selling real estate or looking at houses or doing things. So we'll dig into where he's from, who he is, and all of his advice for real estate agents. But what's going on, Dan? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. As a listener of the show, I am super excited to be here. And hey, I can say the same thing to you. Like, if anyone travels more than me, it's you and Tim and you guys. Every single weekend, you guys are or week. I feel like you guys are somewhere different. No.
That very well could be true. So I mean, let's not try to like compare flight paths for this year. This year was my year of travel. It was my year of yes. Anytime I got asked to be on a podcast or to speak or to do things, it was like I'm gonna say yes. Next year will be different, but no, I hear you though. So for someone that may not know you, Dan, who are you? Where are you from? How'd you get into real estate? What's your story?
Sure. So my name is Dan O'Neill. I'm the founder of the #1 real estate team on Long Island here in New York. I'm 28 years old. This is going to be my 5th year in real estate. I have built a brand around social media and maybe comedy videos, but also built a brand where I've put in the work. I have spent probably 2 to 3 years of just disappearing from friends, from doing anything other than this business.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to be in the place that I am, in the position that I am. I love being able to do this and learning from you and other people in the ecosystem, Tom Ferry's ecosystem. And we've expanded down to Florida. So that's been
Nice.
pretty interesting and pretty fun. And it's just a whole nother chapter in this everlasting real estate journey. So
Yeah, no, I hear you. So just hopping right in. I mean, obviously, like 28 years old, very young. You've got like, obviously the #1 team in your area of New York, like, and then now expanding to Florida. What advice would you give to someone if they're getting in and they're like 18, 19, 20? I guess you 5 years, 23 when you got into real estate, right?
mhm.
So like, what advice would you give to like, that kid that just graduated high school or maybe just graduated college and got their license and is now getting out into the world?
I mean, I would say #1, like they are way ahead of the curve. I wish I got my license at 18, 19, 20 years old. I would probably say for somebody that's brand new is to either find a team, find somebody or a team in your business or your market that is doing very, very well that you want to model your business after. Find other people like how we have in the ecosystem, or find a mentor, somebody that you
Yeah.
can, bounce ideas off of, bounce questions off of, somebody that gives you validity that you can do open houses for. You could share some of their listings out. You have access to their past sales. As somebody that's brand new, like not having any of those things, it can make your life very, very difficult, especially competing against, the Moving to Texas team or somebody like my team or Byron's team.
Yeah.
You're not going to win that appointment. So I would immediately attach yourself to somebody that you want to model your business after, or join a team or find a mentor for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. As far as you building your business, I feel like you've had like a meteoric rise of like, okay, you started 5 years ago, and to get to where you are today normally takes people a lot longer. And so I know, like, obviously, I know you for your videos, and I think that they're hilarious and all that. Like, what are some of the other things that you did to build your business in the beginning?
I mean, we could go on for 45. We can go on for weeks of what
Yeah,
I've done. And it's unfortunate. Like I love the fact that I'm able to be creative on social media and
yeah,
make these videos and entertain, but it's tough because then people don't really see like the behind the scenes. And I posted a picture yesterday of like Tom, like almost like yelling in my face.
yeah,
And I said, "Hey, best caption, or if somebody guesses what he said, I will give you $500."
yeah.
He actually said, like, "I love the social media, but you put in the work. You actually make the calls and do what you're supposed to." That was the correct answer. So, I
No
mean,
one probably guessed that.
no.
I saw
So,
I saw a lot of the comments were very comedic. So, a
which
nice
I
little
figured.
roast. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, from day one, I mean, I used to go to like the bougiest restaurant in my town, and I didn't have any money, so I would order a club soda, and I would just pretend like it was vodka or Grey Goose, and I would sit around and wait for real estate players to come in, and I would go and introduce myself. I used to bring my dad around with me as a for sale by owner. I would lie my ass off and say that he was,
Like a
the
buyer.
buyer. Yeah. And I got caught so bad doing that. And I would just every single day, like I didn't have any Zillow, I didn't have any leads, I had nothing. I was doing every Saturday, Sunday, I was doing 4 open houses a weekend, or I'm sorry, a day.
Yeah.
So there came to a point, and I could get in trouble for this. I don't know who's listening or who's not, but I actually had my father, who was not licensed at the time. I had so many open houses going at the same time that I used to have him, I would pay him to sit at the open house and just like keep the door open. So
Yeah.
finally, I showed up to one of them and he was asleep outside in his car, and the front door is just like wide open. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
have to join a team or I have to bring on help. So I disappeared from my friends. I disappeared from my family even. And I'm working to this day to kind of like mend that and repair some of it. But I just, I heard somebody say, like, imagine you disappeared for 2 years and you put everything into it. What would your life look like? And
Yeah.
I took that serious. So,
Well, I mean, and I think that a lot of the things that you did, maybe for a brand new agent, they shouldn't try all of them all at once, right? But some of those things that you did are like the good ideas, right? Most people are like, oh, I did one open house this month and I don't have anything in escrow and I don't know why, right? Like maybe that's doing 2 open houses a week or 3 open houses a week or whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be to the full extreme,
mhm,
right? But at least getting out there and doing things consistently, I think is the biggest kind of takeaway for me there.
yeah. And you got to choose just, 3 or 4 things that you're going to focus on.
Yeah.
Like every time we leave a summit or a mastermind, you have like 100 great ideas. But
Yeah.
the problem is if you go home and you try to, do all 100 of those things, you're going to maybe give it 80% or 85%. Whereas if you picked maybe 10 of those things and you put 100% into it, you have a higher likelihood of actually getting those done and it actually making a difference for you. So, and listen, what worked for me was probably different that worked for you, and it might be different for somebody else. But
Yeah.
the point of it is just like you got to be putting in the work. And although the social media is fun and it's great, that's all for nothing if you're not putting in the time and the work and the energy and the effort.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, I think people today, see your follower count and see, your Instagram videos and they're hilarious, right? But if you were a brand new agent, that wouldn't be what you would need to do to build your business, right? And so it's like that no one's looking at the 5 years of you door knocking and doing open houses and running around town and doing and the sacrifices you made, right? As well, to get to that point to now, you have the team, you have the business, you have the people that are calling saying, hey, I want you to list my property
Mhm.
and that affords you the time to be able to make very creative, funny videos.
Yes. The videos, in my opinion, are like a sliver. They are
Yeah,
5% of my business. It's allowed me to build a brand, but
yeah,
if it's really because I stayed up late working. I got to the office. I was there 7 days a week. I was doing the open houses. I was really immersing myself. And listen, I'm still working on mending like a lot of those relationships that
yeah.
maybe I put aside just because I had my head so down just trying to build the business. And I'll call somebody right now and be like, hey, happy Thanksgiving, just checking in. And I get a 15 to 20 second like, oh, look
Look
who
who
it is.
decided to show up. Yeah,
Right. And I deserve it. And I have to own it and take accountability for it. But like people also understand like that I just spent all my time and energy trying to build what I've built so far.
well, hey, I mean, at least they're picking up your phone call, so if they didn't care, they would ignore it and not give you a hard time. So
That's
at
true.
least the ability for them to make fun of you, and also let they care by that is good. So you know. Speaking of making fun of you, so is this background that you've got behind you? If you're listening, sorry you can't see it, but I'm sure you've heard it referenced on the walkthrough BAM's podcast that Dan has been fortunate to host a few times when Byron's traveling the world and going to islands and crazy shit. But is this background your final background behind you, or what's the plan for your video background here, your Zoom background?
So yeah, this is not the final background. This is
Okay.
the first background.
Yeah.
I just had a great idea, or so I thought, to paint the wall behind me because I'm in a complex. So if you
Yeah.
look at the wall the wrong way, it like scuffs.
Uh-huh.
So my chair, if you're listening
Yep.
and not watching, my chair would hit the back of this
Against the
wall,
wall. Yeah.
and there's just a giant like gash mark. So I'm like, okay, well, I have a really important podcast in the morning. Let me finger paint behind my wall. And I have no painting experience. I can't even change a light bulb. So it turns out I got a high gloss paint. And yeah, so got to change it for sure.
Well, I feel like I mean, it doesn't seem that there's a lot of room if your chair keeps hitting the wall to be able to put like a bookshelf or like but you could maybe hang some stuff. I don't know. There's definitely potential.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the journey for sure.
Thank
I
you.
just
And
had to
listen,
bring it up.
it's a talking point. Like, so it's almost
It
like
is.
I might just keep it now just because people are talking about it. They recognize it. I still have the painter's tape. And I did this like 2 months ago. I still have the painter's tape up. I should show you. It's funny.
Well, we can dig into that later, I guess.
Okay.
All right, so going back to the videos and back to content and things like that. Other than just, drinking a bottle of Camus and then coming up with a fun idea. Where do you come up with ideas for these videos? Because like I think your production quality and creativity are some of the highest that I've seen, right? Because there are some people that are really creative, but the quality isn't there. There's some that the quality is there, but it's not as funny. Like I think that for your videos, I don't want to give you a big head or an ego, so I'll have to knock you down later. But like you have some of the highest production quality and highest creative content. Where do you come up with your
Thank you.
ideas?
Well, I appreciate it a lot. That means a lot coming from you. And yeah, I mean the content ideas they're just constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So I started 4.5 years ago. My first video was kind of like to highlight a listing. I tried to make it funny. It was just so cringe, but it wound up selling the house.
Yeah.
And what I noticed is like I would be at my local deli or I would be getting gas, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, I saw your video on Three Scots Cove." I'm like, "Huh, it's pretty interesting."
Yeah.
So over time, it kind of evolved into like my value prop where how is Danny O'Neill over here with one sale in a $10 suit going to compete against somebody that's been in the market for 30 or 40 years with 200 sales every year?
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I'll make a video. And they're like, oh, make a video. That's all right.
What
Let's
do
see
you
what
mean by
happens.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. And it started to evolve into that. And then every listing I would get, I would do a unique video on it. And some of my videos, like I would spend 4 hours on, and they were they were a 5 minute long listing video.
Yeah.
After time, people stopped watching 5 minute videos if they ever even watched them, and just constantly evolved into then I started doing like a minute long videos. Then I'm trying to do a little bit more comedy with 30 or 45-second long videos. So it's just constantly evolving and making sure that you're I want to say doing the right thing. And even your content now, like where you're constantly educating people, you're like I learn stuff from your page every single day. So everyone has to kind of find like what their niche is, what their voice is. And yeah, my content has evolved over time. But since day one, I've had Midrise Media with me, who are now, part of the team,
Yeah.
and their production quality has gotten better over time too.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress constantly. I've just gotten to the point now where I'm making videos almost for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like a nice creative outlet.
Right.
No, I mean, and I think that they're fun. And I think that the journey, obviously, yourself through your content, getting more comfortable behind camera or in front of the camera and, doing these different things. And then it's like having the same production team is also helpful because it's like, then they're like, oh, hey, like I like that, but why not do it like this? Or what do you think about that? And you guys can kind of riff off of each other, which is helpful. As
Yes.
opposed to, the person that does 3 videos a year and doesn't have like that regular, those regular people.
Yeah, and I mean, and for most people too, like they don't have maybe the means to bring on a full-time media team.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have the means to spend that money. But my first videos were genuinely just me with my phone in my hand and with like good lighting. Like I would
Yeah.
be outside with the sun's out, and that's how I really started. And eventually it evolved into now having what I have. But people ask me all the time, how do you do this and how do you do that? You got to start somewhere. And
Yeah.
if you're trying to be a Matt Leonetti or you a Derek Gregory, a Chris Benjamin, you have to start somewhere. You have to work on it. You can't just turn into somebody that's comfortable in front of. I'm not even comfortable in front of the camera right now. And I've been doing this for 5 years,
Yeah.
and I don't think I ever will be. So, and as far as inspiration, it used to be like from a movie or something that I would see that I could tie into real estate. Now it's genuinely just things that are happening to me that I think are funny that I could like
Yeah.
turn into like relatable or satirical videos.
Yeah. You're like the broke agent come to life, It's
I
like the
hate that.
meme real
I hate
life.
that. That is. Talk about bringing me down.
Eric's like, yes.
It was fun, Katie. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm done. Screw you. Screw this podcast. No, I'm kidding. I would never. I'm sorry for even comparing you to
That is
Eric.
totally
I take
fine.
it back. I'll post-production edit this out. I'm actually not going to edit any of it out. I'm just going to upload it directly to, Spotify.
That's so
So
good.
sorry. Eric's far better looking, so like clearly not.
He is far better looking. He is a genius. He is a marketing machine. I love Eric. Yeah, Eric is the best, and he's helped me tremendously as one of my really, really good friends, but also like on the business side of things, he's helped me tremendously. I call him for advice all the time. He does the same. So,
Who's the better golfer?
oh, me. I've won every
You.
time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah. I mean, then that's your redeeming quality, I guess.
Mhm.
You
Oh
know,
yeah. I
if
mean,
we're-
I beat him every single time we've ever golfed together, except for once. But I had what's called the shanks. I just got really nervous. I don't know what it was, and other than that, I beat him every single time. And
Yeah.
Byron too. Make sure when we clip this, make sure there's a couple of Byron chirps while
Yeah.
he's on vacation. This guy's on the Galapagos Island. You and I are sitting here working our tails off.
you know,
What are you gonna do?
this is the time of year where you've got to double down and just really focus, keep the, foot on the gas pedal. But some of us go to the islands, you know. Hmm.
So funny.
Hmm.
We have like this ongoing like joke, but on the walkthrough. But Byron, Tom Toole, all these guys, they've really helped me out a ton.
Yeah.
And without them, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That was the sweetest thing I think I've ever heard you say.
Yeah, let's delete that.
Yeah, post production. This episode's gonna have the most editing ever. It'll be like we shoot for 30 minutes and then it gets cut down and someone's like, oh, a 7-minute podcast. Great. Like Dan O'Neill must not have had a lot to say. All right, let's focus back in. So, I think part of what you kind of just said is being in the right room, right? And I think that surrounding yourself with people that are doing the same thing that you want to do or doing more than what you're doing, right? And Byron and Tom, they run these huge teams, number one team in Connecticut. I don't know. Tom's definitely in the top, echelon of agents in the Pennsylvania, Philly area, things like that.
Mhm.
So I guess, how long was it for you to start your team? I get the question a lot as a team leader, like, well, when should I start my team? I get the question a lot, like, when should I hire an agent? Like, what did your journey look like going from individual agent making cringy listing videos to now having a massive team that's the number one team in Long Island?
Yeah, I mean, it was really out of desperation. Truthfully, I was really sick of having my father fall asleep at open houses every
Yep.
weekend, and
Yep.
I just got lucky. My first person ever, Justin Soriano, he saw one of my videos and he reached out to me because of that to be my quote unquote assistant. And at the time, I was actually on another team because I thought that would be the solution.
Yeah.
And it just kind of came to fruition where I was like, all right, well, you know what? Like, I don't really like what they're doing here this way. Let's
Yeah.
go start our own thing and make it our own and do the right thing by agents and by consumers. And it just kind of snowballed into that. And obviously the social media stuff helps naturally recruit agents. But
Yeah.
then it became, oh my God, we're constantly playing defense. We're running around. I think I had 20 agents before I even had an assistant. And I learned pretty quickly that that wasn't the solution and that wasn't
Yeah.
a good way to do business. And you're exactly right. Like getting in the right rooms, you're able to learn from maybe Tom Toole's made that mistake before, or a Byron, or a Lisa Chinati, or you,
Yeah.
and being able to learn from all of you guys and now implement that. If I've done well for myself and my team for 4 years with like no plan and just kind of like just winging it, now with a plan and enacting that and really stepping up as like a leader and a CEO and a business person,
Yeah.
it's been a game changer. And I started the team out of desperation, and now it's like my favorite thing in the world. I love agents joining my team, being able to
Yeah.
see them double their production, help their families. But it's a two-sided coin because if they're not doing all of those things, or if I want them to succeed more than they want to themselves, it's tough on me. Like
Yeah.
I have a tough time sleeping, or it's for example, and I don't want to drag this on. I had somebody call me today, and they're really upset. Their business is down. It's part of the seasonality, but also maybe a little bit of the work ethic. And I'm looking through our Zillow calls, and they got a lead yesterday, and it was at like 1 o'clock. And they're like, "Hey, can you show me this house at 6 o'clock?" And his response was, "No, I'm sorry. I'm with, I'm doing something. I could do it Friday or Saturday." So he's telling me on the phone, I'm having a really
I
tough
need more
time.
business. Yeah.
I would have wrote a skateboard to that house to show them at 6 o'clock. Somebody's raising their hand right
Yeah.
now. Hey, I want to buy 3 days before they. I would have done anything I could to go show that house. So sometimes it's frustrating because, and as a leader, you maybe want them to succeed, more than sometimes they even do themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's tough. And I think that that's one thing as a team leader and kind of happened for me probably a year and a half ago, was like having that realization of, I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself.
Right.
Right. And like, I can motivate you, I can train you, I can give you all the tools you need. But if you don't want it, like, there's not, I can't force you to do it. Right. And so it has been a hard conversation with some team members of like, hey, Dan, like, you say you want to make 6 figures, or you say you want to sell this many homes per year, but you made 4 phone calls this month, or you turned down 5 tours with, whatever. So like, your actions and your goals aren't aligning. And like, if you're not willing to do these things, then this isn't the place for you. Right. Because we've got other people. Like, it's almost, if you're not doing it right, like, it's worse for your teammates, because like, they could have had that lead and like fed their family and sold a house. Right. So, that's been a tough thing to learn, or a tough thing to kind of figure out,
Yeah.
for
And,
sure.
and and I'm going through that now. And it's just, again, being a leader and learning from other people. And unfortunately, with the market correcting and going back to
Yeah.
normal times, there's going to be a lot of agents that maybe weren't doing the right thing, and unfortunately
Yeah.
will get exposed, and maybe we'll have to go into a different industry.
Yeah.
And it's sad for sure, but it's also an opportunity for all of us who are doing
Yeah.
the right thing, who really take this as serious as possible, who are really putting in those 60, 70, 80 hours a week, who are a student of the game, who are going all in on social media, who are masterminding and who are doing the really the right thing. There's an opportunity for all of us to succeed and really double down for 2023.
No, I would completely agree with that. So speaking of, growth and expansion and all the things, you've recently expanded your team to Florida as well. So what prompted that? And what challenges do you feel like you've had in moving to a new market?
The challenges, oh boy, it has been probably one of the most difficult things of my life, to be quite honest. What went into it really was we in here in Long Island in New York, like 50 to 60% of people that
Yeah.
sell, they're going down to Florida or South Carolina or North Carolina. So number one, it was an opportunity where like we could double end a lot of deals, we could help people both
Yeah.
sides. And really the more innocent way, and this is the honest to God truth, one of the agents on my team, John Cariello, is one of my best friends. We went to college together. We worked together after college. We got into real estate around the same time. He just had an epiphany that he couldn't take the cold winters here in New York anymore, and he wanted to move to Florida. So I'm not going to lose him. I had
Yeah.
just gone to my brokerage, and I'm like, "Hey, you guys are only a small mom and pop boutique here in on Long Island. Like, what do we do? Should we join another brokerage down there? Should we have a dual license? Like, what do you want to do?" And they were like, "We'll support you in anything." So they supported us. We got an office space and we kind of hit the ground running. And John Cariello, if you are looking to buy down in Tampa at St. Pete, he is on fire. I'm so
Yeah.
happy for him. And but it really has been like one of the most challenging things in the world. We're waiting 9 months for permits. We're paying rent for the place. The hurricane almost took the office out, and
Yeah.
it just, it's tough to be here and running a team there, and the travel. And you know about the travel. That is maybe the worst part about it for me is the planes and the delays and the cancellations. It's been a really a tough challenge for sure.
It's been a tough year for travel just with like the as you said, like the amount of cancellations and things that, you know, just add additional stress and frustration. But no, I mean that's huge. And like we were talking before this, like, I went to University of Tampa, like so I know, the amount of people that were there, right? From New York, Jersey, Massachusetts, all of the Northeast.
Yeah.
So I mean that's huge. And like if you all are able to, keep that business, it's also I think helpful because, it's difficult when you have someone that's selling a home where you are and buying a home elsewhere and like, talking to that referring agent and making sure everyone's on the same page, like when it's all on the same team and can be in the same system and like you guys just like have that seamless transition. I think that'll be huge as you continue to grow in both markets.
Yeah, and it's been a really big help too. Like I could just text John and be like, "Hey, what's going on with XYZ transaction?" And I get
Yeah.
an immediate answer. Where what I was finding is I would call somebody down there and they were taking 4 days to get back to me. I'm like, "How do you even, like, how do you even do business? You sell
Yeah.
100 homes a year. Took you 4 days. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, we don't work on Saturday." Phew. This guy
Must
John
be
Cariello,
nice.
yeah, this guy John Cariello is driving 3 hours for a showing. He's a hustler, and fortunately, we have a lot of really good people down there. So
Yeah.
it's made it really easy, and it's super exciting. I love it.
Yeah.
Which is very
Well,
exciting.
and I mean, it's a great time of year for you to be like, well, I've got to go check on the Florida team. I'm gonna bounce this week.
Exactly.
That's funny. Um, Cool, man. I think that that's really cool. We've toyed with the idea of like expanding into different cities, and I think that it's difficult. My biggest concern or hesitation to do that is having good people in other markets. Like if we move to an Austin or move to a Dallas or to a San Antonio or wherever, like who's going to be my point person, right? And like Dan, I love you, but like, do I want you leading my expansion team? I don't know. You know what I mean? And so finding people that someone you trust implicitly is, such an awesome opportunity for you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the biggest point too, is like having somebody down there that I can trust, that I know is going to do the right thing. I don't have to worry
Hustler.
about Yeah, I don't have to worry about them. I know if we send them a lead down there, they're going to do everything in their power to get that done. And the amount of reports that I get back of like, oh, they did an amazing job. They're the best. They are communicative. It makes me really happy. But if I didn't have that, yeah, it would be a nightmare. So you're
Yeah.
exactly right. You got to have somebody that's down, wherever you're expanding to, as a point person to really run the ship.
For sure. What advice would you give to someone if they are looking to start their own team?
They're looking to start their own team. My advice would be to make sure that you have a plan, and make sure that you have a plan for when you get punched in the mouth, because everyone has a plan until that happens. And you got to make sure and understand that you have to be the lead provider, you have to be the educator, you have to have listings and inventory for them. You have to provide real value because it's people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
I get people in my market all the time that will come to me from another team, and they'll explain maybe what they get and what they're giving back to the team in terms of a split. And it like almost makes me like sad because I can't recruit them because I have too much respect for their team leader as somebody that's also in the business with me in my marketplace, but they can't succeed with the tools that they're given.
Yeah.
So you really have to make sure as a team leader that you guys do amazing events all the time. You guys have these masterminds, you have your weekly meetings, you have your accountability calls. I'm sure you have Zillow Flex, you have Realtor.com, you have video access, you have all of these tools, right? That you're offering to your agents for them to succeed. And a lot of people don't realize how much goes into that, how
Yeah.
much money, the expenses, what you need to be doing for them. And I see it all the time, but it's easier said than done. We make it look easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. And I think that it's similar to like the content journey, right? Like all of this is like people will look at what you're doing today with whether it's content, whether it's your team, whether it's whatever, and expect that they can hop in and do that today. And it's like it took 5 years to get to this point. And I mean the same thing with us. Like we've had lots of iterations of our team and training and onboarding and all the things.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean it's definitely a journey for sure.
What would be your piece of advice if I want to start a team?
Oh, just turning it back on me. Look at you being a moderator over here. I think the biggest thing is basically kind of what you said, but as far as having a plan, I think having like SOPs is really important and like writing down all of the things that you do. We when we first started, our first hire was also an agent, which was a bad idea, right? Because we had no process, we had no system. And like Sandra now has her own team. She, left us and started her own team after about 2 years with us. And um when she said she wanted to go out on her own, I basically told her, I was like, these are all the things you need to do, like, and if you do these, like, you're going to go do this either way, right? But
Mhm.
if you're going to do this and you want to do it right, these are all the things that you need to figure out how you're going to do them, right? You're going to take some of what you've done with us, you're going to take some of what you liked and didn't like and do it on your own. But like if you don't have that plan, you're not going to be successful, right? And if you don't have that stuff out of your head and onto paper for other people to be able to replicate, it's just going to be a shit show.
Mhm.
And your first hire should always be some sort of admin. Like we both started with an agent. Like if I could do it over again, I would have had an admin to like organize stuff before we started bringing people on. But I mean, you learn from other people's mistakes, I guess, right? Like I, you know, it is what
Yes.
it is.
I would have hired 20 admins, 20 staff before I brought on any agents. I did it in complete reverse.
Yeah,
And listen, again, it's a learning curve, right? It was a mistake
it
that,
worked out, but
yeah, it was a very stressful way to go about it. So,
well, I mean, and part of it too, I mean, not that an agent will make you money on day one, but like an agent is someone that technically would bring in money, right? And an admin hire is kind of scary to say I'm paying someone 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a year,
mhm,
right? And like every single admin we've had has made us more, right? Because we have more time and we're more organized and we help to service our clients better, but it still is a scary expense to add to the profit and loss statement. So,
yeah, but you need it, right? Like,
yeah.
and what I do is I write down stuff that maybe I shouldn't be spending so much time on. It
Yeah.
could like ordering business cards for an agent. Like, I should not be doing that. I probably shouldn't be having a conversation about an agent wanting to build out his own CRM. That is a
Yeah.
little bit diabolical. So I write everything out, and then I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Now that we've just brought on 5 new agents, we probably need another or admin, or this is a
Yeah.
conversation for the sales manager. But I didn't know any of this. I didn't have these tools and these resources when I first got started. I didn't even know what a flywheel was, right? I didn't know what Tom Tool was talking about, or Tom Ferry. And I really didn't even take some of the, like, I wish I took the first ever summit that I went to more seriously. I kind of went there. I wasn't in coaching. I was sitting with Eric and Byron and, just, networking and meeting people.
Networking. Yeah.
But then I sat down and I'm like, wow, in the 30 minutes I was here, I learned more than probably I did in 4 years. how do I how do I do this? How do I get in? And it's been a game changer.
I love you, man. When he says networking,
Yeah, we all know what I mean.
he means
You know what I did zero of this past summit? I did zero networking. I sat there I swear to God, I was glued to the chair. I must have 30 pages worth of notes.
yeah,
Like Eric was mad at me. Eric was like, I don't know if he ever wants to like be my roommate ever again. He was like
yeah.
genuinely pissed. He's like, what the hell has gotten into you? I'm like,
He's like, I thought we were golfing and going out and drinking vodka. Like, what are we doing here?
I didn't drink for 5 days. I
Yeah,
sat there, I learned, and I've been on fire since I got back from August because it's motivated me in such a way. Like there's so much opportunity and we've
yeah,
learned so much in this time. Like it really the end of the year started in August, maybe even
yeah,
before that.
yeah. Um, like I feel like that's like the graduation realization, right? Like when you grow up and you're like, ah, man, as much as I love all of the networking that goes on at these events, like there's so much to be learned. Because I've also over the past few years had that same shift in my mindset for some of the real estate conferences. So I hear you there. I hear you there. All right. Dude, I appreciate you so much. I've got one last question for you. If
Okay.
it were your last meal on earth, I know probably what you would be drinking, but what would you be eating?
I would definitely be drinking Camus.
So is
Still
Camus your like number one cab red wine?
Yeah, I mean it's my go-to. I'm sure that there
Yeah.
are, there's a bottle Free Mark Abbey that's about half the price. That's really good too. But yeah, Camus is just my go-to. It's just
Yeah.
easy, My go-to meal, and this is going to be really really funny, and I'm probably going to get chirped so bad for this. But as a kid growing up, any celebration or any birthday, anything
Okay.
that was worth like even graduating high school, all these things we would go to because I didn't grow up with much at all. We would go to Outback Steakhouse.
Okay.
So I would choose to go to Outback just for the bread, just for a nice little 12-ounce
I
sirloin.
love the bread.
Me too. It's they put drugs in it, I think. But that would be for me. I would
Yeah.
go to Outback. I would invite all my friends and my family. You know what's funny too? I just got this. It's called the Whoop. You're really into
Yeah.
it, so you're probably way ahead of me. But this thing's like I looked up how long I have left to live and it said 5 years. So I'm on this health kick now. Yeah, right. So I'm on this health kick now, and I'm eating right, and I'm doing all these things. I'm going back to the gym. I feel much better. But I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, Outback would be my
But you still go do your cheat meals at Outback?
yes.
Is that
Thank you. You're a great host.
um Dude, I feel like there are those restaurants like and it's like more of a nostalgia thing, right? Because I mean, like there are so many like amazing steakhouses all over the country, and things like that. But it's like those nostalgia meals that it's like it brings back those memories of like, hey, like I didn't go out to eat much as a kid, right? Like it was definitely a special occasion, sometimes a weekend thing. But like you get a good report card or you graduate or whatever. It's like where do you want to go? Like, and so we had a local steakhouse in Maryland where I grew up, and like I always went there for like the prime rib. That was always my go-to like prime rib meal. So I hear you on that for
I'll
sure.
also throw in Hall's Steakhouse in Charleston, South Carolina. I believe they do have one in Nashville now as well. And I will also throw in, oh man, I just had it in my head. Hall's and oh geez, I forgot. Hall's, Outback, and there was one other one.
Where is it?
Hall's, Outback. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. All right, that's all I got. Damn,
Halls is good. I went to Halls in Greenville.
it's the
So they've
best.
got one there as well. The problem is since I'm like expecting a child, I have to eat my steak like not not rare. So it's like getting a medium well steak at a steakhouse. It's just like the most like I was just sitting there like eating it so depressed. And it's like, I mean, if it was like a rare steak and I had like a big bold cab, oh, it just would have been like such a fantastic meal. It's still a great meal, but it's
Yes,
just like it's so like I've been to a steakhouse probably 3 times since like, you know, being pregnant, and it's just like it's depressing. It just
I came up with it. Meat
what is
Market
it?
in Tampa.
Okay. All right. Have you been to Charlie's in Tampa
Not yet.
or Burns?
Burns, yes, not
Okay.
Charlie's.
So I was gonna say those two I feel like are pretty good as well.
Where would
So,
yours be?
I mean, so for me, I don't know that it would necessarily be a specific place, but like for steak, um, Papa's here in Houston is really good. It's like a local chain, right? So we've got two of them here in Houston. But for me, it would just be like a raw ribeye, rare ribeye, and a glass of Camus.
Oh
and a big baked potato, and that would be like, and then maybe like a side of sushi, because sushi and steak are my two favorites.
yeah. Mhm.
So I've got a few more months before I can, go make that happen again.
That's awesome.
But cool, man. Well, I appreciate you and everything that you do to give back to the real estate community. I love your funny videos. If people don't already follow you on social, where's the best place for them to connect with you?
I would say Instagram. You have to ignore the 8 fake accounts that exist of me. So the real one is DANONEIL_. I'm not selling crypto. I do not have any crypto. Do not fall for any of those messages. But
Yeah.
listen, I really appreciate you having me on here and taking the time. Again, as a listener of the show, it's amazing to see like what you guys are doing, what you guys are building, and being able to learn snippets from you guys every now and then, and being able to be involved in the ecosystem. Um, I love it. All jokes aside, like I'm not really serious all the time, but like I tell this to Eric all the time too. Like I learn a lot from you guys. So thank you for doing everything that you guys are doing. And the next event, I will really, hopefully, I get the invite on time and not like a last minute. Hey, Dan, you want to go to Hall's Steakhouse in Greenville and come to the event? But hopefully, I will get the invite to the next event and I will be there.
I'm pretty sure, just in my defense. So we had an event in South Carolina, and Dan went to school in South Carolina. So he kept commenting on how much he loved Greenville, South Carolina. Every single time you commented, I either text you or DM'd you and told you if you came down, I would buy you a steak. So don't pretend like the last invite that you received when I guess Tim offered it to you was the invite. Like every single time I said that we're going to Halls, we
Mhm.
will have a steak, and you are more than welcome to come.
You
So
did. You did.
I'll pull the receipts and send you screenshots if we're gonna. I'll go back in my DMs, I'll go back in my texts, man.
That's fair.
So don't throw me under the bus.
Thank you so much for having me. I genuinely, I really appreciate it. You're the
All
best.
right, man. Appreciate you too.